This week, it's all about rebuilding the inside of the 85-year-old Kuppersmith Project. But can we make it functional for a modern family and keep the historic charm? You'll have to stick around to find out. Just a few months ago, the Kuppersmith Project was an 85-year-old American Tudor in need of some TLC. But we've given it so much more than that. We've replaced the dilapidated old garage, added space for a great master suite, and we've completely redone the exterior with low-maintenance materials while preserving the home's unique charm. With all new wiring, plumbing, and insulation, there will be no sacrificing comfort for historic character. Hey, the folks at Marillac Cabinets and Better Homes and Gardens have worked together to select some great cabinetry that fits the home style, and now our team of carpenters is accenting that with molding and trim work that fits the profile perfectly. Man, the guys have done a great job on the interior trim that they've completed so far. You know, you got to remember, this house is 85 years old, so we wanted everything to look just like it did back then, and they've done exactly that with matching up the original window. I've also installed a lot of the cabinets here, and this is going to be kind of a really nice area here, and a great idea that the folks at Better Homes and Gardens came up with. This will actually have some coat hooks here for kind of a little informal coat closet, more or less, and then bookcases around it. That's going to be a great thing to see when you walk in the front door. Hey, a lot of focus on the inside of this project and all of the trim work that's being installed. Hundreds of feet of crown molding, base molding, window trim. They're really busy putting all of that together so that we can get our painters going on. Also, you can see some of the cabinetry here. We've got our corner cabinets in the dining room, and the dining room's completely swallowed up by 5,000 lineal feet of antique heart pine flooring. Now, we have this flooring milled out of some old beams so that we can match the flooring as close as possible, which is not easy because you have a lot of different color in hardwood floor, but this should work perfectly. Now, we have it on little runners here so that we can get air in and out of that and dry it all out properly, because we want to acclimate it to the existing moisture that we have in the house. We have our heat system running so that everything can dry out, and we'll be able to start installing that very, very soon. Now, even though we have all of these materials to install and all of the work left to be done in this house, I'm still confident we'll have it completed in about 6 weeks. But that schedule will keep these carpenters moving, because this kind of trim is very labor intensive, with over a dozen individual pieces to be measured, cut, and nailed in place.
Take that much off at the bottom.
Each door or window takes a lot of time.
Yeah, man. Does that look good? It looks perfecto.
The pressure is really on these guys, though. They have to get it done because the painters are coming in right behind them to prime, putty, and caulk their work in preparation for the finished coat. There's also more cabinetry work to be done in the bathrooms and closets.
Perfect.
Everywhere you look, there's progress being made, and that's the way we like it. Man, I am so proud of everybody out on the project. They're working so hard, like my trim carpenter Mike here, and trying to get all of the little few details taken care of. You know, when you're a homeowner in this position, this is where you really get anxious. You want everything finished. You want everything cleaned up, all of the trim work done, all of the painting done, the flooring done. But this is where you have to really slow down and be very careful about the scheduling. Make sure you don't have one trade stumbling over the other, and make sure that everybody works together to get it all completed. Outside, there's a little more elbow room, but it's still very busy. Our stucco contractor is back to coat the block foundation of the additions so that they match the finish of the original home's foundation. Now, he'll do this in multiple coats so that the mortar joints in the block don't show through the finished surface. And the painters still have a little bit of work to do outside as well. The shakes on the back porch are getting the same stain we used on the second floor, and the breezeway to the garage has to be coated with the same color scheme as the house. While the work continues here, let's check in with Joe for this week's Simple Solution.
Whenever you're getting ready to paint the room, the first order of business, of course, is to clear the room of all the furniture and remove paintings from the wall. But what do you do with something like this, a hanging light fixture? Well, you don't need to remove it entirely, but there is a way to protect it when you get around to painting the ceiling. First step is to lower the canopy. That's this dish-shaped piece against the ceiling. Just unloosen the nut holding it and drop it down. It doesn't have to go all the way down, but just enough to expose the electrical box that's holding up the light fixture. Then get yourself a large plastic trash bag. You just put it around the entire fixture and pull it up tight to the ceiling, wrap it around. And the idea, of course, is just to seal up the fixture so you don't get paint on it. Then I like to just hold it in place with a twist tie. You can use tape, but a twist tie is easier to install and easier to take off without damaging the bag. Now when you do this, be sure to take the light bulbs out of the fixture. This way, in case someone accidentally turns on the light, it might heat up and burn the bag. And now you just keep the bag in place, paint the ceiling and the rest of the room, you won't get any paint on your light fixture.
The work inside the Kuppersmith project has been moving at a fevered pace for several weeks. First to get ready for drywall, then to take advantage of the fact that it was in, so we can make it to the next milestone, which is the installation of the new old wood floors. These tongue and groove wood planks are heart pine lumber recycled from the beams of demolished buildings. Now, although pine is considered a softwood, heart pine is very tough because it is chock full of resin, which makes it harder and gives it this beautiful amber hue. When it's all sanded down and stained with the same color, it should blend perfectly with the floors that have been in this house for 85 years. It's made a big difference in the family room already and in the kitchen, where we're starting to template for the countertop.
Now, Tim, I've seen this laser templating before, but I'm not sure I quite get it yet.
Well, we're going to use this to gather our data here today. We at Merlin and Denova embrace green technology, so we use the laser, the LT55, rather than the traditional method of doing a template, glue on plywood or another medium.
Right, right.
So we'll set it up today. We'll go ahead and shoot this area. We have.
So this is basically just gathering the points. I know you have these little things on the different corners. So you're basically just shooting something to gather where that point is, and then your software assembles all of it?
That's correct.
Now what about like sinks and any other cutout that you have? You're able to also input that information in the data?
Yes, we are. We'll wind up shooting the center of the sink base, for example. We'll make a mark, shoot the center of the sink base, and then using our database in a plugin that we've developed, we'll bring in that sink and actually in real time drop it in there, correct setback, and then we'll put in the faucet holes and those locations as well. We can do that for sinks, cooktops, and cabinets.
Oh, that's wild. And you're able just to email that information to the fabricator?
That's correct. It's a bit of a change. We can actually just send it right up to the fabricator and he can have it in the time that it takes to transmit.
Now, did you invent all of this?
No, I didn't. I wish I did.
While Tim continues collecting information for the countertop fabrication, the rest of the house is buzzing with painters prepping surfaces. Since essentially every piece of trim and square inch of wall space inside this place is new, they have a lot of long hours in front of them. Now, it seems like every job site, there's at least one character who keeps the mood light and fun, and this crew is no exception.
Well, I'll tell you, the happiest people on this job are the painters. It seems like every day, in spite of all of these people walking all over the place in here, they're still keeping a very positive attitude, which is so important when you're at this point in the job now. Now, I knew that you'd have to do a lot of trimming, a lot of priming and everything, but I didn't realize you'd have to take the windows apart. Because if you don't, you'll have some areas that'll still have raw wood if you try to paint them in place.
Correct. And
Okay.
the whole thing is to preserve this wood real good. So.
Okay. How are you staying so happy with all this stuff going on here?
Oh, just because I love painting.
Well.
You need to give it a try.
Well, I think you'd be doing way more cleanup than we need to if I did that, but what's the next steps here?
To hurry up and get this thing finished so we can get out of here. Make you a happy man.
There you go. And oil primer, so you got a little bit of drying time.
Oh, yeah.
And then after it dries a little bit, I understand a little caulking takes place. And you always see you guys with a little wad of putty there and working that. It's just regular painter's putty, right?
Just painter's putty.
And then it's so that's better than caulk.
The caulk will just shrink into the hole to where the putty will be level.
Perfect. Well, what do you think? How are you keeping such a positive attitude? You guys are always, is it the paint fumes or is it something
Paint
else?
fumes, yeah.
Does that do it?
While the painters keep pushing on the prep work, let's see what Jody has for the best new product this week.
There are so many products out on the market today to help you recycle. Well, have you ever really given some serious thought to recycling rainwater? Well, you can now. Fiskars has come up with a rain barrel, and this is a nice design, and it comes with a kit that actually ties into your downspout. Now, what you will have to do is actually cut into your downspout, but that's really easy, and it comes with 2 different sizes to retrofit your downspout. Once you have this in place, you have the diverter hose that will attach to your downspout and tie directly into the rain barrel. And what that does will basically divert the water from your downspout in here and start collecting. Now, when you're ready to harvest that water, down here on the bottom is a little spigot. You can put your watering can underneath, or it's threaded so that you can attach your garden hose to the threaded end here and water your flower beds or even your garden. This is a great way to conserve water.
As finish work inside the Kuppersmith project progresses, one of the chores we have to complete is rebuilding the stair handrails where we cut out the second floor landing earlier. After the corner newel post is cut down to the proper height, Mark's first challenge is creating some bullnose trim to match the heart pine floors on the second level.
Yeah, how did you do that anyway?
Well, I can't tell you all my trade secrets. You may use it on TV or something. No, I just stood a piece up and ripped it a 1/4 inch thick. And I glued it and shot it with a little 5/8 brass, and then I rounded both edges with my router.
That's great.
This will cap the cut end of the upstairs flooring, but before it's installed, he's attaching the old rails reused balusters from the underside.
Shoot these things up from the bottom, and that'll hide those nails.
Then that piece is attached to the floor before the old top rail is put in place.
Now we can just set that top rail right down over them.
The top rail is mortised on the underside for the balusters, so it takes a little finagling.
I have to take these dadgum little pieces out. I didn't want to.
But eventually they all line up in their holes.
Okay, that's it.
Restoring this kind of architectural feature has been a priority on this project all along. And several weeks back, when Joe Boehm of Better Homes and Gardens magazine was here, we talked about the key one.
Well, Joe, everybody that walks in this place immediately is drawn right to this fireplace. And I mean, I just assume it was from 1926 or whatever when the house was built. What do you think?
No, the mantle is much older. It's probably a late Victorian piece, I would say from around the 1880s.
Wow.
And you know, you've got this whole series of different types of marble. You've got a red marble here, a black marble facing on this part here, and look at this inlay in here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's very, very unique looking, and it's definitely probably about 40 or 50 years older than the house itself.
Golly, well, that's a surprise. I just assumed, but and you know, when you said red, I guess I didn't realize how much red is in that. It's going to be really something when we clean this thing. Of course, we're going to do our homework on exactly how to clean it the best way, but there's no telling what kind of color will come out of this thing.
No, I think it will really pop once we get it cleaned, and I love this little bird panel. I mean, that's one of the things that really makes, you know, it stand out. It's very unique, and I don't think I've seen one like that in this area.
Now Joe's back to check on the progress and plan for what's ahead.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you can make it back to Mobile and look around a little bit here.
Well, thank you, and the weather's perfect, so I'm
absolutely
glad to be here.
Made a little bit of progress since you were here.
I think you've made amazing progress.
We've
The
been-
last time I was here, there was no drywall, so this is pretty much, it actually looks like a house again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, see, I'm still focused on electricians and plumbers and floor guys, but you've already made the leap forward. You're placing furniture and measure for curtains. I don't know if I can make that leap that far.
Well, you know, the first time I was here, I took a walk through the neighborhood, and the neighborhood sort of inspired what was going to go on in the house, as well as the architecture itself. So, you know, it's really a wonderful little cottage. We want to keep it with that cottage feel. The neighborhood is filled with a lot of great greenery. There's palmettos, there's azaleas, there's boxwood. So we took that green theme, and we're doing a green color palette from the front door all the way through the house. Shades of wonderful greens, gray greens, sort of soft greens that you find in the foliage and everything going on around the house. Of course, you know, it is a cottage, so that's our problem with the placement of the furniture. You know, everything has to be smaller in scale,
Right.
but still accommodate a family that's going to live in the house.
We're gonna have wallpaper in this room?
Well, actually, we're not, but we are.
Okay.
So, that might sound contradictory. One of the things we did do is we took the idea from the fireplace that we discussed earlier.
Right, right.
And there's those two wonderful birds.
Right, right, the
So
little-
we've
yeah.
sort of kept a little bit of a bird theme also going on. So you'll see some sort of bird motif throughout the first floor. And what we're doing here is we're creating panels. So in case you didn't want to make a commitment to a wallpaper.
Oh, I got you.
So we'll put this in on MDF and we'll frame it out, and you'll actually just be able to hang it on the
Okay.
wall. And then this sort of silver gray wall color. And then the Better Homes and Gardens True Vintage Collection will go in this room.
Oh man, you're getting me closer to that vision there.
Ah,
I'm
yeah,
not
well.
quite there yet. Now, what about this room? This is the room that people are going to see as soon as they walk in, the formal living room, even though this is kind of a room that's going away in a lot of the more modern homes and so forth. But since we have it, what are you going to do with it?
Well, again, it's a cottage, and we're going to keep it a very simple, small-scale furniture. Usually a sofa will probably go here, another little seating grouping over on this side. Again, we took the idea from the bird motif on the fireplace. You'll see one or two little bird things going on here.
While Joe continues explaining his green color scheme for the interior, why don't you check out this thinking green idea for your interior? Who would have thought one of my greatest childhood pleasures would be taken away by this plastic bottle? I used to love shuffling across the carpet in my sock feet so that I could deliver a static shock to my brother. But I can't do that anymore. Believe it or not, plastic bottles can be processed into fibers that are woven into a special yarn and turned into one of the most stain-resistant carpets that you can buy. This is one of the most creative examples of recycling I've ever seen. Now, it takes about 30 of these bottles to make 1 square yard of carpet. It's competitively priced, looks and feels great, and here's the bad news, it's permanently static resistant, so no more mischievous fun. But I can't hold a grudge because this effort is keeping over 3 billion of these plastic bottles out of the landfill each and every year, and that's a pretty green shock. Even though we've been at it for months, we're really only a little past halfway in the process of renovating the Kuppersmith Project. We've passed the really big milestones on the exterior work and the interior as well, but as you've seen this week, there are tons of details that have to come together before we're complete. And as they say, the devil's in the details.
You know, one of the things I really wanted to accomplish with this project is to make it function like a new house, but allow it to retain a lot of the character it had as an older home. And we've certainly done that with the trim. The guys have done a great job, and the style of trim really matches what it looked like originally. Hey, we hit the mark on all of the antique heart pine floors, and the cabinetry, the style of the cabinetry, very similar to what you would see in an older house. So I'm very, very happy with the direction of the Kuppersmith project so far. But next week, we got to get outside and figure out what we're going to do with all of the landscaping, and we'll be showing you all of the interior doors being installed, and we'll have countertops here in the kitchen. Hey, I hope you're enjoying following along this project here on Today's Homeowner. We'll see you next week. I'm Danny Lipford.
This project is going to be a big success, thanks to our Kuppersmith Project partners.
This is just a great way to, this is just a nice way to conserve what I'm right here to water. This is just a great, easy way to conserve our